It is time for another installment of Disagree to Disagree. And joining me tonight, Matt Bourne from Minnesota, probably in
when
a wife.
When did we get a theme song?
Probably in a wife beater. more likely.
What? Do you have a camera in my house? That's not cool.
Also, Daryl Fisher joining us.
What up?
And a new name to everyone, but not new to anyone. Anthony Ingval is joining us tonight.
I don't know who that is.
None of us do. Nobody
you
does.
can take Facebook for that. You can take Facebook for that. You can thank Zuckerberg for being an idiot. But this is DJ Tones, as you all know. Disagree to Disagree podcast. I'm actually at a minor league baseball game here in downtown Peoria. It's the Peoria Chiefs against the Burlington Bees. I got a very nice cold beverage in front of me, and that's a foul ball. Just about bashed some little kid's head in. Good job. So,
Way to sacrifice your body for him.
oh, no, I'm not going to sacrifice my body for a 5-year-old. Come on now.
It's hard enough to think of. Imagine doing that if it's your own kid, let alone a stranger.
If it's my own kid, once again, fight or flight.
Hey, why not get into it here, guys? NBA Finals tied up 3-3 now. Kind of a little drama last night, I guess, there at the end of the game. Steph Curry kind of throwing a little hissy fit, looking like my 7-year-old when I tell him no about something. I mean, I understand, maybe it wasn't a foul, but, man, the way he handled that is very, very unprofessional. And I think if LeBron James would have done that, thrown his mouth guard and thrown that hissy fit, we'd have heard a lot more about it today.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt. And it really makes me wonder now, what team do I want to back in this Game 7? Because before, I didn't want Cleveland to win because unlike when Kevin Garnett got traded from the Timberwolves, or not so much traded if you heard Chris Rock perform in Minneapolis around that time, as he put it, Kevin McHale gave Danny Ainge a birthday present by giving him Kevin Garnett. Everybody in Minnesota wanted Garnett to win a title because he deserved one more than everybody else. Nobody in Minnesota wants Kevin Love to win anything, ever. But then, on the other hand, you're seeing that the Warriors are just starting to act like a bunch of children, as you put it, like your 7-year-old. I haven't met him before, but if he's related to you, I can only assume that he's prone to throwing fits. And so now... And Steve Kerr, I mean, he's always been kind of over the top as a coach either. So now you're looking at that, and it's like, that's incredibly unprofessional. And then you kind of go back to Cleveland, and it's like, Cleveland may give hope to, Minneapolis, Detroit, some other cursed sports towns that, what, if Cleveland can win a major title, maybe, just maybe, we can too.
Well, getting into the nuts and bolts, guys, of this series and how kind of this series has changed on a dime here, is probably the biggest injury, and then everybody talks about Andrew Bogut being the biggest injury. I think the biggest injury right now has been, without a question, the MVP of the finals last year, and that's Andre Iguodala. Him not being able to guard LeBron effectively, especially on the pick and roll, has really, really hurt the Warriors. And now you've seen Cleveland really stop doing what they need to do on their bench. And they've shortened their bench up. They're not playing Dellavedova anymore. That's a good base hit right there. Good piece of hitting. Double down the right field line by Burlington Bees. But you're seeing Cleveland do a lot better job with their bench. Kyrie and LeBron playing out of their minds, especially LeBron, going over a stretch here, 40 points a game, nearly 10 rebounds, almost double-digit assists. A couple of steals and a couple of blocks. It's unbelievable the way he's playing right now. And for the Golden State Warriors, the inability to get Klay and Steph going early, and also the inability for Harrison Barnes to be anywhere close to an NBA player, caliber level NBA player, for at least last night's game, the game before, they really desperately need him to really up his play and start knocking down open shots, because Cleveland's just going to keep on letting him shoot. And if that continues to happen and he continues to miss shots, you're going to see Cleveland win its first title in got so many years, and you're going to see that happen. And LeBron's going to be the guy that's going to be able to do it. So that's pretty much my view on what's going down in the final.
Yeah, and you look at LeBron right now. I mean, I sent that stat to you guys earlier, but isn't that crazy? He leads the NBA Finals. He leads among all players on both teams: points, rebounds, assists, blocks, and steals. He's number one.
Unbelievable. I mean, we're
crazy.
seeing a hybrid player of Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, and the playmaking ability of Michael Jordan. I mean, that's what we're seeing right now, LeBron James, and it's very, very fun to watch, especially the last two games. And I think everybody has wanted him to up his game to this level. Now, does he have one more game in him? I think he does because of the mismatches that he is facing so far, especially with an injured Andre Iguodala.
Yeah.
You know, who's going to guard LeBron now? You know, are you going to put Draymond Green on him? And that's going to be tough. So it's going to be fun the next couple coming up on Sunday to watch these two teams really go at it in a Game 7 in an NBA Final.
And it'd be interesting to see Draymond against LeBron because LeBron can easily get under Draymond's skin, and we've seen that.
And Draymond can get under his foreskin.
Oh!
Ouch!
Hey-o.
Just to toss
All
it
right,
in
boys,
here. Oh,
I'm going to head out.
all right.
I got to get some food and another beer. So,
Later,
guys,
Jones.
I want to thank you for having me come on very quickly here on Disagree to Disagree. And have a great conversation. NBA Finals, also a lot of great stuff. U.S. Open this weekend.
Uh-huh.
And should be a great conversation. Excited to listen for
Tones,
it coming up here.
before you go,
We'll try to carry the load without you.
before you go, Anthony, who's gonna
know who that is.
win the U.S. Open?
You know what? I like my dark horse in Dustin Johnson.
Yeah, he's currently tied for the lead currently.
I like Dustin Johnson, and the one stat that actually was kind of a big stat, very quickly here before I leave, one stat that's kind of a big stat when it comes to U.S. Open winners and also major winners in general is greens in regulation.
Yep.
And Dustin Johnson right now leads in greens in regulation percentage. So that bodes well for him going into the weekend where we're going to see an Oakmont Country Club that is going to be ridiculously difficult when it dries out. So excited to watch this weekend, guys, and excited to disagree. I've got to get out of here.
All right, see you, Tones.
Bye.
Have a good one, guys.
All right, so Fernando has actually joined us, so we lose one and we gain a better one.
That's
maybe.
what I'm talking about.
My God, Fernando, it's so nice to hear that you're still alive. I was worried about you for a second.
Oh, I'm glad you worried about me.
No,
I like the
I
caring.
wasn't at all. I didn't care.
Yeah, no, I know.
Well, it's just I didn't know if I needed to send flowers or Ron Jeremy videos to the funeral. I don't know what to do.
I mean, both are acceptable. So just for the future reference, when my time does come, that's what you can do.
Okay, I'll make a mental note of that. Given your diet and history with the law, I don't think I need to worry about writing that down and keeping it in a safe place. It should happen sooner than later.
Exactly.
So, Fernando, right when you jumped on, we're talking about the NBA Finals. Obviously, it's you're out in California and you got Golden State out there. I guess what was kind of the reaction after Draymond was suspended for Game 5?
Everyone was complaining about it. They just, I don't know. Everyone out here, they're just a bunch of bandwagon fans, so they're just cheering for him now because they're doing well, and then they're going to complain about anything. So I'm definitely on board with, I've never cheered for LeBron. This is the first time I want LeBron to win out of any time he's ever been to the finals.
There's a good chance of it. It's coming up on Sunday on ABC, so it's going to be. It's going to be a great Game 7, that's for sure. And,
I want a couple fights. I want some overtime. I want this series to just continue for an extra couple hours on Sunday night.
That's very possible. I mean, the way Steph Curry kind of threw a little fit there at the end of the game, just ridiculous. I can imagine people out in California were complaining about that, how it wasn't a foul, and he got hard deal out of that horse crap, right?
Yeah, a lot of they jumped on the bandwagon. Well, they probably jumped on it last year too, but up until this year, nobody cared about Golden State. It was all about Lakers, but now that the Lakers are terrible, everyone's a Golden State fan.
Right.
And they'll find anything to complain about.
Oh yeah. So how is things out in California, the weather and everything right now this time of year?
It's going to get warm this weekend. We might be hitting triple digits for the weekend, but it's livable. I think the sun's playing everyone's brain out
livable.
here.
Coming from Minnesota, and you're like, I guess triple digits. I guess we'll be all right with it, knowing good and well what it could be doing.
Right. Well, hey, I'm used to all this heat. It's all about the double and single and negative digits that I'm equipped to handle.
Yes.
You're built to handle like all of us are.
Exactly. Those extra layers add on.
So the U.S. Open's going on right now, guys. I don't know if you guys are paying much attention to that at all.
Nope.
Nope. No golf for you, Fernando, huh?
All I know about is Tiger Woods and, Tiger Woods.
Oh, all right. Well, yeah, that's cool.
Tiger Woods is currently not on the leaderboard.
I've heard that for a couple years now, right? Isn't that what's going on in the golf world?
Yeah,
more or less.
He's not even in the field this week. But one thing I do want to talk about with the U.S. Open is how horrible Fox's coverage is of the U.S. Open golf. I mean, I watch golf on a regular basis, and I may be the only one out of this group that does. But I watch it on a regular basis, and NBC, Golf Channel, CBS, they do a fantastic job. You turn it to Fox, and Joe Buck's on there, and no one can stand that moron. And then,
Jesus.
and then,
why?
Exactly, he's horrible. I mean, I can't stand him. Football, baseball. And then they put him on golf and ruin that for me too.
I watched some old football videos from some games from the '90s and 2000s, and Madden and Summerall were on, and all I could think about was, man, these guys are so much better than Joe Buck and Troy Aikman.
Hands down. Yeah, because those are the top bill guys at Fox, and I don't see how. Is Fox that bad? They have to be, I guess.
Well, it could have been worse. They could have had, I don't know, well, I think this was more on locally, but like 2 seasons ago, they experimented having the guy who does the MMA commentating do the Vikings game for Fox, and like people were just reaming him on social media because he was just awful. And I mean, typically, unfortunately, for the last couple of years, the Vikings haven't been marquee enough for us to get the cream of the crop football commentators. But this was even worse than that. And like people were just reaming him on social media, and he was just like firing back at them and like swearing and everything. And Fox pretty much just said, "And you're done with football."
Yeah. The worst was the first game of the year when they had the late Monday night game, and it was Chris Berman and Trent Dill.
Well, why is Chris Berman allowed to exist?
Yeah, he shouldn't be able to talk after, I think, noon, because I think the bourbon's flowing too quickly. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, unless he's making, sexual harassment type comments to lady coworkers around the ESPN, he's pretty much useless.
Ay. But now the golf. Dustin Johnson tied for the lead with Andrew Landry. And you know what Andrew Landry and Matt Bourne have in common? Well, actually, Andrew Landry's got a little more than this. Andrew Landry's only played 1 hole today, and Bourne, he's got you beat.
Blow me.
Well, then you'd be tied with 1 hole.
Exactly.
I know Dustin Johnson's just lighting up the greens right now. In the second round, he's 13 of 15 greens hit, and in the first round, 16 of 18 greens hit. I know, Fernando, you're not a golf guy, but Borno, if you paid attention to the U.S. Open at all, who do you think has a shot to win it?
I think the way that Dustin Johnson's going right now, I'm kind of looking up the scores and everything right now because I don't pay attention, but I at least want to be somewhat, contributing. The way that he's golfing right now, I don't know if anybody else can maybe even claw back into this. Rory McIlroy, he's always got a chance to do it, but I think Dustin Johnson's going to completely finish this one out.
Yeah, I mean, McIlroy is one of those where I don't know if he can come back at this point. He's 7 over. And here's the thing. They had 2 rain delays yesterday, and then they ended up canceling. They finished the morning crew this morning, and then they started with the afternoon crew, and the afternoon crew is now golfing 36 holes today. And the people who golfed in the morning on Thursday are going to golf tomorrow morning at like 6 o'clock. So they're behind because of the bad weather that was in the Pittsburgh area over in Oakmont. And Phil Mickelson's currently 6 over. I know that's one that people really want to see win a U.S. Open. I know he's got a lot of trouble with the gambling and all that insider trading as of late, but he's one that a lot of people, if you're a golf fan, they want to see him win one, and I do too, but I just don't see it happening right now with him being 6 over. Daryl, any comments on who you think's got a chance?
Well, and one of the things we talk about with the idea that, there's the delay, the weather issue, and when you look at the leaderboard through these first, 2 rounds, a round and a half or some, there's only about 19 players that are at even par or under par. Mm-hmm. So you have a lot of scores there of guys who aren't necessarily getting their best in these opening rounds. And we'll kind of see if that starts to play into it here in the back half of the tournament, where you have those guys who are already under par, have kind of established themselves, and if they've already made their way of pulling away from the pack. And one of those, Bubba Watson, is 1 under par, as well as I know Sergio Garcia is 2 under par. I feel that he will probably slip back. He's right now tied for 4th. He has a tendency later on in the tournaments to slip back. But, one name I kind of look at and near the top of the leaderboard and 3rd place all alone is Lee Westwood.
Yeah.
And that would be someone I would not be shocked to still see his name in those top 3 slots when we come to a Sunday afternoon. Yeah,
that would be nice to see Lee Westwood, too. One of those, never won a major, been around for quite some time. Jim Furyk, he's at even par now. Oakmont hosted the U.S. Open in 2007, and the winning score in 2007 was 5 over. That's how tough that course was playing then. And with the rain they've had this week, it's really made the course a little easier, more scoreable, with the lead being 4 under. So, that's the golf for you and whatnot. Hey, Fernando, you got the All-Star game coming out by you, right, this year at Petco Park?
Oh, yeah, it is. I forgot. I forgot all about it. I don't pay attention to anything out here.
What do you do all day?
I work all day and I host trivia all night.
Wow,
that's really all I do.
Trivia, huh? How's that going?
Oh, yeah. Not bad. It's just extra free alcohol and some money on the side.
Can't argue with that, can you?
So
I work just for the free alcohol, but that's I have lower standards than you.
Well, I have those. I think I have those same lower standards, but I'm just not going to tell them that so they continue to pay me. Because if I tell them that, then they're not going to acknowledge that. So I'm going to keep my mouth shut and just keep doing what's working.
That seems fair.
You got the All-Star game coming out in San Diego. That's coming up later this year. Fernando, you gonna go to that? And that's something I would like to go to, as an All-Star game. Like the Home Run Derby, possibly too. I think would be kind of cool.
That could be cool. Now, I might. It depend. I wouldn't. I think like maybe $20 or something like that would be the limit. So I don't think I'm going to find any tickets for that price. But I just recently heard something that they're floating around is a home run derby for pitchers.
Yeah. Now that would be interesting, and that'd be something I think a lot of people would tune in for. I mean, you're out in the I guess the San Diego area, but San Francisco has a pitcher who is one that really wants to do it, and he's one of the best hitting pitchers. And that's Madison Bumgarner.
Bumgarner, yeah. I'd love to see that, too. I remember back in the day, Tones isn't here anymore, but who's the Cubs pitcher who'd always hit home runs? The guy who had he's always looked like he was ready to argue with everybody. Zambrano or something like that?
Oh, yeah, Zambrano, yeah.
Zambrano, that guy. I think he eventually got kicked out of the league because he got into too many fights, but he could hit some home runs as well. Yeah, I'd like to see. And, hey, what's his Bartolo Colon, oldest player in Major League Baseball history to hit his first Major League home run.
Yeah, impressive.
Very.
How do you live with yourself if you're the pitcher that gave that up? Like, I think you just walk away.
Yeah, you got to retire right then and there, and hopefully you don't kill yourself.
Oh, hopefully.
I guess that's the way to look at it. For you Minnesota Twins fans, the Twins have broke 20 wins on the year.
Woo!
Yeah, we're
We
very surprised
weren't the last
about
team
that.
to do it.
Yeah, the Braves just did it as well. But you weren't the last team to break 20, so that's impressive on the year.
Yeah, well, you got to get your victories while you can, albeit as little as they are, because I don't think there's going to be that many more. About a month ago, they showed a stat, that the Twins were basically well on their way, on pace to have the worst record in Major League Baseball all time for one season. The Mets of the 1960s that currently have that.
I remember that.
At that same.
Reading about.
Yep, at that same spot, they were They had 2 more wins than the Twins did at that time. So we might be seeing some history, and well, that's about one thing that Twins fans can get excited about.
Yeah, history.
Oh yeah,
history's history, regardless. I mean, records
exactly.
Records are records. It doesn't matter, right?
Yeah, I just looked that one up.
It's an over 50-year record that they're going to break. So why not?
And now, do you guys? I mean, I'm a huge Joe Mauer fan. Anything like that, trading deadline coming up. Can you see the Twins trading him? Or do you see them trading anyone at all? Maybe to get some prospects or not?
Well, they can't trade Joe Mauer because his contract is so inflated that no team would ever want it, because he signed that monster contract the season after he won the MVP and has not lived up to that prowess since then. So there's not a team that's going to want to take on his ridiculous contract. The Twins are just going to have to wait that out for the next 2 seasons. But I definitely see them unloading some up-and-coming talent. Trevor Plouffe has been the big name that's been going around the power-hitting third baseman. He might have a little bit of trade value because we got Miguel Sano playing in the outfield right now, but he's more naturally a third baseman, so I don't think it'd shock any of us if they trade Plouffe and move Sano to third base and have that be his primary spot.
Yeah, what about Eduardo Nunez? He's having a great year, too.
He is. It's one of those things that it's like, I hope they don't trade him because he's one of the few bright spots offensively this team has going. But at the same time, like if you don't have any prospects that you feel confident in coming up here pretty soon, you may just have to unload on him and definitely load up on some prospects. Hopefully some pitchers, because nobody on this team can pitch, period.
What about Brian Dozier? That's another one, too. He's a good name every year.
That's what I thought they were going to be trading.
But Dozier just recently signed a pretty decent contract last year, and I don't think the Twins really have anything going for them as far as second baseman goes. So I'd be very shocked if Dozier got sent. But yeah, I think Nunez and Plouffe are probably 2 pretty big names that could get traded, along with Irvin Santana. He's got the highest contract of any pitcher on the Twins right now, and he's done nothing. He's like 1-6, ERA over 5. He's just been miserable to watch.
Well, it's because he quit using steroids. That's why he was suspended the first 50 games last year.
Exactly.
Yeah, Fern, what do you think about those 3 guys I mentioned for the Twins?
Again, I haven't watched a lot of baseball this year, but I do know they're all playing well, and I've heard Dozier's name thrown around a few times just because he's technically an older guy on the team, even though I think he's still under 30.
Yeah, right. He is, but he isn't.
But that's really what that's, I don't know, smaller markets, that's almost how you got to build. You get all these prospects and hope they are good enough to be relevant for 3 or 4 years before, like an East Coast market picks up their contract and takes them away.
Yeah. I mean, is that something you could see? Do you guys see the Yankees being buyers or sellers?
Yankees are always buyers.
Being in last place, I don't think the Yankees have ever been known to be sellers, but this may be, one of the first times that you see them maybe unloading some of that talent.
They're 32-34, Fern, and they're 6.5 games out of first place, and they're in 4th place.
There's so much season left. They got plenty of time.
No, I know, but you know how teams are around trade deadline. They panic and freak out and say, "Oh, we got to buy, we got to sell." And there's been a lot of talk with the Yankees and Cubs, either Aroldis Chapman or maybe Andrew Miller, 2 lefty specialists that the Cubs are interested in, that they want from the Yankees, and the Yankees aren't opposed to that. But I heard Kyle Schwarber, the young up-and-comer from the Cubs, is one that they've really been looking at. So I don't know. You always say the Yankees are buyers, but you just never know with the Yankees either, because it doesn't matter, because come off season they got so much money, they'll just go pick up the best available person anyways.
Exactly.
Well, and does the loss of Schwarber on the Cubs really make a huge deal? Because right now he's again not on the roster. Yeah. With the injury that he suffered earlier in the season. And when you look at the Cubs already, the pace that they're putting themselves on, and you look at just the all-star balloting lineup that we had talked about earlier, the Cubs' entire infield leading for fan voting, plus they have all 3 of their outfielders in the top 6, with Dexter Fowler taking the top spot.
And then you take a look at the situation with Schwarber. He's a defensive liability on the field. He's not good at defense at all. I don't know if you guys have caught any Cubs games this year, but he really is not good on the field. He's a bat, and that's all he is, in my opinion. I mean, when Schwarber got hurt, I think that was the best player to get hurt on the Cubs. I think if any other player would have got hurt, it would have hurt the team more. I don't think Schwarber really hurt. And if they let him go, they let him go because you can get a lot for him because he is a big bat. And playing in New York for the Yankees would be a great situation for him. They got a short porch in right field. He's a left-handed batter, and he could DH. He's a defensive liability. He's supposed to be a catcher, but he's playing outfield. The Cubs just called up the catcher, one of the hottest batters. He had a 20-game hitting streak, Wilson Contreras. Just called him up yesterday, and he didn't play today, but he possibly could play tomorrow. But I don't know what the Yankees are going to do, what the Cubs are going to do. I obviously think the Cubs need to go out and get another pitcher. They got Arrieta and Lester. If they can get a solid 3, they are going to be super scary when it comes to the playoffs. And the Giants are really the team that I think they have to beat because it is an even year. It is 2016. And when the Giants get an even year here in the 2000 teens, they seem to win.
It's true.
And
that's what they're going to do?
Yeah, I mean, apparently the Giants are hot after Ryan Braun. He fits out there. He's a Cali boy.
I can see that.
Yeah,
assuming he's not using more roids and there's not a FedEx package that gets misdelivered where he gets away with it.
True. That's a true statement.
I only know all this. That's all I know about baseball now is just who's on steroids.
Well, it's in the news every day.
The answer is pretty much everybody.
Yeah, so it is still fair game.
Well, the most interesting thing I heard earlier this week was that when the Brewers were in San Francisco, they had a 3-game set out there to start the week, and that's when kind of the talk about the Giants being interested in Braun came up. And then I heard that those rumors were kind of dying down, and then Milwaukee traveled down to L.A. They're taking on the Dodgers now over the weekend with a 4-game set, and now the rumors are starting to pick up that the Dodgers might be interested in Ryan Braun. So I just don't know if it's just kind of a showcase for him to say, here I am. He has hit well at Dodger Stadium when the last time he's played there. He's from the L.A. area. I think it's 19 of the last 23 games he's played at Dodger Stadium. He's hit safely, so including 6 home runs, I believe.
Yeah, and I think both those teams have big enough pockets. Braun, his contract isn't horrible. I think it's 4 years. 4 or 5 years, $75 million. In all reality, it's not horrible for those teams.
Yeah, it's chump change for them.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's a situation you could see there. We've already seen Atlanta. They already started unloading. But Freddie Freeman, he's one there for first baseman. Julio Teheran, the pitcher. I don't know. It's just it's fun. It's a fun time of year in the baseball season, and you got football mini camps that are going to be starting up and stuff like that. And it's a great time of year. There's not a lot going on sports wise because after the NBA Finals, it's just baseball and golf every weekend. And and
hey, we got the WNBA.
Yeah.
Minnesota started 11-0. I saw that.
Oh, really?
Damn right.
Nice. Yeah, I caught a game the other day. Or my channel got stuck, and
I was going to say, was it an accident?
Now, Fernando, do you remember back in the day when we used to go to Timberwolves game, and then they said bring this ticket to get in free to a WNBA game?
Oh yeah,
you remember that?
I don't think we ever took advantage of that.
I was upset, but not really because I got to see Mark Madsen play. So
that was your secret crush, right?
Latrell Sprewell, Troy Hudson. Those were the days. KG was there.
The alien, remember the alien? Cassell.
Oh,
Sam
yeah,
Cassell.
Sam Cassell. Yeah, him too.
Monkey nuts.
Yeah, I see the Vikings made some news this week with Laquan Treadwell getting pranked by the veterans, huh?
Well, that's what you get for parking in Teddy Bridgewell's spot for 2 days in a row. They're going to screw with your brand new car. It's just that. Welcome to the NFL, Rook. Don't park in your quarterback's spot.
McCaw, that's going to be the next Chris Carter right there.
I like it.
You just wait.
That's
all I care about.
In what way? In his play on the field or just his horrible standoffish nature off the field?
I'm hoping his play on the field because, again, he's not the fastest guy, but he's got them hands. It's all about the hands for wide receivers.
Mm-hmm. It is.
Getting excited. Another news, if anybody cares, Coach Zimmer was so proud of how the team was playing, he canceled the last practice of minicamp.
Wow.
I heard that. That's very rare for him. He's usually balls to the wall every down.
Hey, Borno, you're up there in the Twin Cities. How about the buzz with the new stadium and everything? A lot of buzz going on?
We are, yes, because today was, I don't remember the official term, but basically today construction completed. The stadium is open about 6 weeks ahead of schedule, and basically it's ready for use. So, yeah, everybody's excited. Everybody's excited, especially for the fact that the first regular season game is going to be Sunday Night Football against the Packers. That place is going to be loud, almost as loud as it's going to be for the Metallica concert on August 20th, which I will be there in person for that.
What are you going to wear to that? What kind of wardrobe do you wear to those kind of concerts?
Typically, I wear the T-shirt of the band that I saw last. If I bought a shirt from their concert, so I will be wearing my Foo Fighters shirt.
That almost makes sense. Yeah, I get you.
Yeah, I'm just kind of surprised you wouldn't be wearing a cutoff flannel shirt like Larry the Cable Guy.
You know, I don't own any cutoff flannel shirts anymore. I'm very disappointed in myself in that regard. I know I need to change that. So I do have time.
Yeah, the anymore was the best, Daryl, there, when he said, anymore, I don't own any.
But at one point, he owned plenty.
Yes. At one point, that's all I owned. And then you get married, and then the wife makes you wear, normal people clothes or some crap
shirts
like
with
that.
Sleeves. Yeah, stuff like that.
Marriage life sounds terrible.
Yeah.
Way less sex, way more bills.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh. So NBA draft coming up around the corner. No one, I have a hard time. We get excited for the NFL draft as Americans. I don't know what it is, but NFL draft is huge, right? The MLB draft was last week. Did you guys watch that?
Was it on TV?
Yeah, it was
on
on
the news ticker that it was happening.
Yeah,
that was about it.
It was on the MLB Network. I watched it because I'm just kind of a nerd like that. I just like to see it. A couple kids from Wisconsin got drafted. It was kind of cool. One kid from Verona, which is about an hour away from where I'm at in Lancaster. It was just kind of cool to see that kid got drafted. Kid over by Milwaukee got drafted too. It was kind of neat. But it's so funny because you look at the NFL draft, and they're going to show up. The first round picks, you're going to hear about them. They're going to get contracts, that stuff. The first round picks of the MLB draft, they might not even go to the team. They might go to college and take their scholarship. There's just such a big difference there. And then the NBA, you see all these, you see a lot of foreigners drafted, and you see these guys might not even take the court either. It's just such a big difference, and the NFL is such a big event. The NFL draft is such a big event, and the MLB draft is kind of nobody knows it's on, and it was on the MLB network opposed to the NFL draft, which is on multiple networks, and everyone talks about it all year round, constantly. You're seeing that as soon as college football season starts, they're going to be talking about mock drafts. Well, they already have mock drafts for next year, but they're going to talk about them more come college football season. I just find it crazy how the NFL draft is way up here, and then all the other drafts are just down there, and nobody even knows about them. NBA, MLB, and NHL, just nobody pays attention to them at all.
Well, Brad,
I think a big reason for that is because with the NFL, there's no minor leagues, there's no development league. It's like the guys that you're drafting, they're going to be there, day one in most cases. Whereas the MLB draft, like you said, they may not go to the team, right? They may go to college or something. But with all of them, none of them are going to be on the team right away. They're going to go to the rookie leagues. They're going to go to single A, double A. You're not going to see them for a couple of years. So it's like, oh, okay, great. We'll see you in the next half a decade or something. And with the NBA, well, basically nobody in the second round ever even gets to play in the NBA. No. You're basically drafting guys whose contracts you're going to sell to Russia.
Yep, essentially.
Well, I'm going to say with that as well, the idea that when you have some of those guys taken in the NBA draft, these are kind of the one-and-done college players. We don't get a chance to know them. At least with college football players, you're seeing guys who have been in the collegiate level for at least 3 years. They may not have been playing those 3 years, but they've been around, and they're recognizable. You see them, and we hear about all these different awards that they're up for. Again, it's a dozen games that they are put out there for the season, and that's essentially you get this opportunity to kind of see them, to get to know them, to get to understand that, oh, hey, this is a stud freshman. This is going to be a great sophomore. Will he come out after his junior year? In college, it's essentially come March when you're watching the NCAA tournament. If you don't see it, you might catch a game here or there. You hear about a good player, and yep, he's going to the draft. And your body of work is essentially 2-3 games maybe you see in the Sweet 16, the Elite Eight. Again, you don't know that much about the player other than that small sample, whereas with, say, college football, you kind of have that full year, multiple years of them being playing at that level where they can be evaluated. Again, that idea of with an NBA, you think that these guys get drafted, they be brought in. You'd think with a smaller, I guess, roster size, having one impact player would make a huge difference. But it doesn't always seem to be that way, at least not recently. Has there been an NBA draft prospect that you can think of in the last 3 to 5 years that you think about and think, man, that guy was a star in the making and we knew it, and the team that got him was going to be a game changer, a playmaker. You had like with LeBron James, when Patrick Ewing, that draft, and you may say, oh, well, Steph Curry was a big name, but he wasn't projected to be what he is now. Mm-mm. And that, to me, is the most interesting part of this, is we don't really know any of these guys who are coming up in the drafts.
Yeah.
I mean, I couldn't tell you, beyond, some guys in the top 5.
Right.
Really, I may recognize names, but I don't know that much about them.
Yeah. No, I think you're right on with that, Daryl, and it's... Yeah, there's a lot of players that you don't know. And even look at Kyrie Irving. He's in the NBA Finals this year and with the Cleveland Cavaliers, and he was person who didn't even play in college. He played a handful of games because he was injured, and he got drafted early in the draft, and now he's actually turned into something great. You didn't see that. I mean, people obviously saw that coming, but you didn't even get to see a sample of him in college. And I think the NFL stresses college so much. With football, they stress the college football so much where it's, what is it? You have to play 2 years and be 21 or something like that, or be 20. They have a lot of stipulations, but it is very interesting.
And with that, they also had there was discussion earlier this week, and I think the NBA, the association, is going to be looking at an option that they may change it to the idea of, okay, you can either A, come out of high school, because the one-and-done rule they think is just awful. So you can either A, come out of high school, or B, if you decide to go to college, then you're committing for 2 years. So even if you go a year and drop out, you can't be eligible for the draft until the year after that. So again, whether it's Europe or some other league, but yeah, that's the idea that...
So that's what they're floating around now.
That's an idea that's been kicked around. Now, will it happen? I don't know. Yeah. It's hard to say again. And some of it will come down to the financial side of it. Yeah. At the end, are these guys going to be... Would you rather, as a college basketball coach, get like what Kentucky had? That one and done where it's, we're going to bring in 10, we'll just replace them with 10 more.
Yeah. I guess, Borno and Fernando, how do you guys feel about that if the NBA changes that rule where it's either you can come out of high school or you go to 2 years of college?
Man, good luck getting that one through the players' union. Talk about rolling the dice. It's like if you're on the cusp of kind of being like that great standout high school player, it's like, okay, I could make myself eligible now, possibly get in the first or second round, or... And if I don't, because if these kids hire an agent, essentially they can't play college basketball. So then they really got to find out what's important to them and where they think that they'll land, because there's a huge financial stipulation that could come with doing that. So I don't know if I necessarily agree with it. I'm kind of one of the people in the minority where I kind of like how it is now, where it's like, yeah, they need to go to college. Yeah, I mean, it may be tough for these big name schools like Kentucky, Duke, North Carolina, where their players keep leaving after the first year. But at the same time, you know, they're Duke, they're Kentucky, they're North Carolina. They have no problem getting recruits.
And I love how you say you're a minority. You're furthest thing from a minority.
Especially in Minnesota.
Yeah.
I am in my workplace, if that helps.
Yeah, by being a male.
Sure, why not?
By being male, that's the only thing.
Yep, well.
Fern, do you have a take on that, or?
I do like the idea of the 2 years at least.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I think that's what the NFL does. You have to go at least 2 years. I think it's a lot of them aren't ready. You know, they need those extra years. A lot of them think they're ready, but not everybody is LeBron.
No,
or KG.
Yeah, you're right.
And it's not necessarily just the idea of playing to be ready. It's a lifestyle, to complete lifestyle change. Imagine your senior year of high school, and then that following year, you're going to be on a plane flying from, say, Milwaukee to Portland.
Yeah.
You know, going to Houston. You're working out with, you know, NBA All-Stars, the media in your face. You have to have a certain sense of the mentality that growing up, that entering adulthood. I know I still made dumb choices a week ago. I mean, and I'm in my early to mid 30s.
Yeah.
Now you have, you know, guys who are 18, 19 years old, and here's a 7-figure check. Go enjoy yourself. Practices tomorrow at 8.
Yeah, that's the thing. You're giving an 18-year-old millions of dollars. You're just asking for trouble. In my opinion, I guess. I don't know. I mean, you see a lot of these college kids getting a lot of trouble too. You know, where they think they're gods. They think, I'm in charge, man. This is my school. They think they can get away with anything they want. And I don't want to bring up a certain case that's been up recently, but, you know, that's what it seems like that situation was, you know, with the Stanford case. You know, it just seems like, you know, hey, I can do what I want. I'm an athlete. I'm on scholarship, you know. It's something I look at. And now, Fernando, do you know the case I'm talking about? You're out in California there.
I do not. I haven't been I've been off Facebook, which used to give me all my information. So now I get no information.
So the Stanford, there was a swimmer who was accused of sexual assault. Verdict was 12-0. He was convicted, found guilty, and she was passed out by a dumpster, and he sexually assaulted her. He's 20 years old. He's a swimmer, great swimmer, scholarship swimmer for Stanford. Gets 6 months in jail.
I had a trivia team last night. Their team name was called Dumpster Sex, so I'm guessing that was because of that that incident.
That very well could be.
Well, and it comes down to, and what kind of brought a lot of attention to this, not just the sentencing, but, you know, he was, I want to say it was the jury had recommended the 6-year sentence.
Yeah.
And the judge comes back with a 6-month sentence. Yeah. And part of it was that the father of this swimmer, Brock Turner, had written a letter basically saying how, you know, don't ruin my son's life.
Right.
Don't let 20 minutes of action ruin the rest of his life.
Just horrible.
And it's this weird double standard where, you know, if the woman is drunk and passed down, it's the idea that, well, you know, she was asking for it, or the guy was drunk. Well, you know, it's just an honest mistake then.
Yeah.
Well, wait, that makes zero sense at all. But I think the biggest thing with this is it's really weird to say it, but you almost want to thank the judge for making. You want to kind of like congratulate him for the simple fact that if he had gotten the 6 years, none of us would have heard about this.
Right.
It wouldn't have been an issue because. Now, I'm not saying that it's not an issue, but the story itself, because he was given the appropriate punishment, it's the fact that the father, the family, basically came out and said, you know, our son is an athlete and has aspirations of, you know, being on an Olympic team and, you know, can do all these great
things.
Yeah, doing all these great
things.
And that's what he's basically saying. You know, you should let my son off for making a mistake like this, and he will learn from this going forward. Well,
Yeah, it was an absolutely horrible situation. And then the girl, whose name has not been released, and I'm okay with that.
No, right.
I'm glad
they never will. Yeah.
I'm glad they're not releasing her name because she doesn't need that. But she actually took court and she read a 12-page letter, and she apparently stared at the sexual assault guy. Brock Turner was his name. She looked at him the whole time and spoke at him and said, "How dare you do this to me? You don't even know me, but you've been inside me." I mean, that was whoa. That was crazy. She didn't know she was sexually assaulted until she woke up in the hospital and they told her she was. That's how bad it was. And just thankfully that these two guys riding by on their bicycles saw this guy created the sexual assault and stopped him. Now, it takes you to a question that, do you guys feel like we'll just stick with college. We won't even talk about professional. But do you think guys who are on college scholarships have an easier go of it, of getting off with cases like this?
More than likely, because a lot of them they were brought up rich. They have money to get out of those
true
bad situations they put themselves in. So that's why they're used. I mean, they're just a bunch of spoiled people. So they're used to getting away with that stuff. So now it's finally the real world, and they're getting what's coming to them.
Yeah, and then depending on, what kind of high school that they went to, they might have been like the greatest athlete that has ever graced their school doors, so they could definitely get away with it. They could get away with slacking off in class, getting in trouble, and the school's not going to risk their greatest athlete getting into trouble. So they always had a pass there, and unfortunately in college it tends to be the same way. So there's got to be a different dynamic. Everybody's got to be treated the same way. It doesn't matter if you are an athlete, because then these sort of situations arise.
And I'm going to lean towards the idea that, the college athletes could get it, but I'm also going to say that it will depend on the culture, because, again, even when we go back to look at, say, with Jameis Winston and the incidents he had at Florida State, it was very much, Tallahassee, very, pro Florida State. It was very much a backing of the football program, the university, and I think depending on, I guess, the university and the level at which you are, that will probably play into it more than anything. But for these athletes, for any athlete that is on a scholarship, they are kind of thrust in that position of even if they've worked on it, they've earned this honor to be given the scholarship, that doesn't give them any other sense of entitlement that, unfortunately, they, and I don't have a psychology degree, but that could be the mindset behind it, is that sense of entitlement. You've been, given something, and now they can take that moment and take more.
Yeah, I feel they do have that entitlement where, I'm here on scholarship, do whatever I want. It's my world, it's my school.
Yeah, you're paying me to be here.
Yeah, essentially.
Sadly, but that's true.
So we started the last podcast. We started a little thing, Borno and Fernando, called Deep Thoughts with Daryl. He's gonna throw kind of a thinker question at us, and we're going to have to respond how we feel about it. Daryl, what do you got for us tonight?
Oh, man, I am rubbing my hands together because I just found some breaking news that ties in beautifully with my deep thought.
All right, what do you got?
Okay, breaking news is coming out here from the Sporting News. Came out here just about an hour ago, 2 hours ago. O.J. Simpson has reportedly agreed to give a DNA sample for a paternity test to see if Khloe Kardashian is if that is his biological daughter.
Wow.
Yes, the situation only gets weirder, according to the Sporting News. Simpson's one condition on giving the DNA swab is if Kardashian visits him at the Lovelock Correctional Facility in Nevada. So
I always thought Shrek was her dad.
So yeah, for those of you again who don't know, Khloe Kardashian and the whole Robert Kardashian, allegedly now, I guess I have to say allegedly, her dad, who died in 2003, one of the members of the legal team that defended OJ. And this is kind of where my deep thought comes in. Unless you've been living under a rock, which sounds like a couple of you are, which is kind of sad. ESPN, ABC, they've been putting together this 5-part, 10-hour documentary on O.J. Simpson, the entire trial, a little bit of his backstory, new documentary. People have been raving about it. So my deep thought question for you is, which current athlete, and when I say current, either on a roster from this past year or competed this past year, which athlete is out there that you would actually want to sit down and watch a 5-part, 10-hour miniseries documentary on?
Sorry, I want to hear the question one more time. I wasn't listening. I'm still at work, so I'm multitasking right here. So I'm doing a little bit of both right here. So one more time with that question.
O.J. Simpson, they have the 5-part documentary on his life right now with ESPN, ABC. Which current athlete would you actually want to sit down and watch a 5-part, 10-hour miniseries on? So who would you like to see a documentary made about that's 5 parts, 10 hours? Current athlete meaning someone who was active on a team in the past year or competed within the past year. So it can either be, a member of a team or, an individual competitor. But which athlete would you actually want to watch? And that's my real deep thought. Because, again, we talk about this, the O.J. Simpson, the case is what we worry about the most. But, like, the first, 2 hours of this was really kind of the build-up to what was happening both in OJ's life and in kind of in society before we get to the actual, ordeal of the case.
So
but
current athlete.
A current athlete. And, I'm sure there's probably a couple names, but is there someone out there that you can think of as so interesting that you would actually want to watch a 5-part series on?
The first name that popped in my head, but I don't think it's going to be my final answer, was Gronk. Just because he's full of
right.
He's just an entertaining individual himself. So
that'd be one I would watch. But number one, I don't know either.
I don't want to say that one number one. That was just the first thought that popped in my head when that was asked.
Let's Bourne, you got to answer first. Democracy.
I hate to say it, but I kind of want to go on the Gronk side too, because you just see just this completely different person on the field. Focused, insanely good at what he does, and then off the field he's kind of a doofus, but not the point where he's getting in legal trouble or getting kicked out of bars. For all of his weird antics, he's actually a model citizen, which is saying that alone is worth a documentary in the NFL. Someone that's a model citizen and stayed out of jail. But I mean, I also heard something about him too, that he has never really spent any of the money that he's made from the NFL, his contract. All the money that he spends is from his endorsements. So just kind of that would be an extremely interesting documentary, just to see what makes him so Gronkish.
And the interesting thing is, it's not just him; it's his family.
Yeah,
it's not just he's kind of the meathead. No, it's basically a family of meatheads. He had a booze cruise this spring, and I know someone from the Dan Le Batard show, they actually had a correspondent on the ship to give updates as far as what was happening. And I like that answer, though. I had a couple
Gronk's
other
a good
ones
one,
in the back of my head.
Man, that's tough. I mean, there's so many interesting people, but to pick one, Gronk would be in my top 5, obviously. But since Borna went Gronk for number 1, I'm gonna go with somebody different. Man, that's tough.
I'm trying to think of anybody else. Going through all sports, and I can't I don't know. I almost need to know more about Marshawn Lynch. Just popped in. I don't know if you still call him current, even though because he's technically retired, but he's only 1 year removed.
Yeah, but he played in the most recent NFL season, so I consider him a current athlete.
Yeah, that's what was kind of like my my boundary for it was was someone on a roster this past year? So basically from today to June of 2015.
Yeah, what I'd like to know if we get some inside information on an athlete who's got some mob connection. So anybody dealing with the mob, I think that would call for an interesting one.
Okay, that would be any NHL player right now.
Perfect. Any Russian NHL player.
Yeah, right?
Yep, there you go.
Oh, man, that's tough. I don't...
Well, do you want me to toss a couple names out to you, and you tell me whether or not you actually feel it would be worth a watch or not?
Yeah.
Here's the first one that kind of popped into my head. What about Tiger Woods?
That would be interesting. Yeah, that would be interesting because I mean I know Borno's on this one with me, but with all the prostitutes, I think that
That's
makes
another thing. I want an inside. I want a camera on the inside to see what's going on. Like, that's one thing with Gronk too. Like I want this to be like an NC-17 type of 5-part miniseries.
Right. Yeah, that would be cool. I agree on that one.
Yeah, Tiger Woods, that would be a good one. Just his meteoric rise and then just his completely crumbling fall.
Yeah. Well, you add on to that, you're also going to have, just like with the OJ case, you're going to have a court case with him in Eagle County, Colorado.
Yeah, true.
A couple other names just to throw out there to think about. And no, he's just retired, but Kobe Bryant.
I was just thinking of that myself too.
Be an interesting one.
Especially that night in Colorado.
Rings cure everything.
That's
Yep.
Exactly. See, that's what that swimmer from Stanford did. He didn't win an Olympic medal yet. He did it before then.
Yeah,
so
right.
Had he won that medal first, then he wouldn't be going to jail for all these years.
Yeah.
Well, and that's a question, yeah, with a medal one. Michael Phelps.
Yeah, that would be interesting.
He's still endorsing Subway.
Now, see, that's the hard part for me because I don't know if he would actually be considered current. I don't know if he's been competing on a national level or not, but
he is training for the Olympics.
Okay.
I think he is on the Olympic team, so I think he would count.
He would count, okay. Because I guess I'm setting the rules, so I don't know if I'm breaking my own rules. But the last one that kind of caught me, and just as I was kind of reading through different names, what about Ronda Rousey? Would you be interested to see a female perspective of rising to the top of MMA?
Right, and speaking of top, she loves that before her matches. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. There's something about Ronda Rousey. I don't know. Yeah, she. I like her. I would watch it on that too. I mean, I'm gonna watch most sports documentaries anyways because I just love them. But man. I still can't think of who I would number one, and all three of those sound great, but they're not, I don't think they'd be number one for me.
Another decent one, after I should have thought of this earlier before you read these names because these are some really good ones too. But another interesting one would be, especially for Vikings fans, would be Jared Allen, just because he kind of had a really rough, sort of rocky start in the NFL, where he got in trouble with drinking a bunch of times, drinking and driving, and just he's another one of those guys, big personality, always the center of attention type of thing. I could watch 5 days of Jared Allen.
What about Greg Hardy? Did you guys watch that one?
I would, but I'd feel guilty.
So
that seems like that'd be the anti one where you'd be against him. Like usually documentaries are about a little more uplifting about the individual.
Sure.
That one seems like it'd be all negative.
That one's almost like watching a documentary on the Nazis.
And no knock on Schindler's List, but it's a good movie.
It's great. I love depression for 3 hours.
Welcome to my job. This would be an interesting one, and I'll toss it out there. I'm not sure how many of you are racing fans, but the idea of Dale Earnhardt Jr. and the fact that, again, you're watching someone whose father extremely famous, tragic death, and how he still is having to make a name for himself. And competing, in that same sport. So
that
Wait, is that a sport?
Possibly
Driving around in circles
in a professional competition. How about that?
There you go.
Okay, fair enough.
Speaking of professional competitions, Russia track and field are not going to compete in the 2016 Olympic Games. Their ban from international competition was extended on Friday because they have so many doping. So much doping for the Russian track and field team. So they are possibly not going to be in the Rio Olympics.
Are you sure that's not an excuse just to avoid the Zika virus?
That could be. Did you see Pau Gasol stated that he's going to freeze sperm before he goes over to the Rio Olympics just in case it causes him to become infertile? No one wants another Pau Gasol on this earth. He is the ugliest person in the NBA, hands down.
Yes, but But if Paul Gasol were to knock somebody up, there's some money for that kid. Just saying.
True. Yeah, that's
Paul
true.
Gasol's got the same issue with Eli Manning, like mouth breathing 24/7.
Hey, you guys, bring up an interesting thing here that happened this week. Ichiro got a hit to break Pete. Well, to technically break Pete Rose's hit record. Do you guys agree with that or not?
I don't.
Just because the quality of the competition. Like, it's too bad he didn't start earlier in his life in Major League Baseball.
Yeah.
Then we could maybe consider it, but I don't think he'll ever be considered because it wasn't. I mean, it was the Japan majors, but I still don't. I don't think it's the same as what Pete Rose did.
It isn't. It's a different quality of competition between the two, which is why when Japanese players come from Japan to the United States to play ball here, the success rate is not necessarily the greatest.
Yeah. Well, and you take a look, if we're going to consider that, bringing his Japan hits over, well, then do we consider Pete Rose's minor league hits too? Because that is professional baseball, technically.
Mm-hmm.
True.
Yeah.
Fair. That's a good point. I like that point.
So,
and while you're at it, let's throw in some Pee-wee hits. I know it's not professional, but then everything counts.
I wish
I got
Pee-wee
so many
hit
hits
you in
in
the
my
nuts.
career then. Those T-ball hits I got.
Fernando batting .727 in beer league softball. That's got to be worth something.
Right.
Oh yeah, slap singles to right field all day long. And then I get a pinch runner every time.
Hey, that's the way to do it.
Hey, the one season I miserably played beer league softball, I remember I was running from second to home, and the person that made the hit, I could feel him on my back as I was crossing home, and he's like, "Run faster!" That was the day I decided that I should stop playing sports and just continue to be fat.
Why'd you run from second to home? Did you go to third, then home, or did you just go straight from second to home?
The ball was hit so far out there, I thought I had time to, just kind of. I ran to the pitcher's mound, I ran back to first, grabbed a beer, then I made my way slowly around.
Lauren, I will say, the one thing I remember the most was playing with the Fighting Squirrels. I was looking for someone to pass to. You were the only one open. I, very softly laid it into you, and I think it hit you right in the middle of the face.
Yep, bent my glasses, and I picked up my glasses and my pride, and I walked away.
If I'm not mistaken, I think somebody got that on video. There might be a video of that out there somewhere.
If that
somebody
remains,
had it on video
we need
at
that.
one point, and I hope that person is dead now.
No. I hope we have that. We have to look into that, Fernando. But, Fernando and I, man, we connected on so many touchdown passes. It's ridiculous. It was unfair for the defense.
We had a chemistry going there.
Yeah,
it was just
unfair. It was unfair for the defense to try covering us. You remember that one where that girl was walking down the stairs and I handed the ball to her? Remember that?
Oh, yeah. I remember that.
I remember you also not getting her phone number.
So? Scored the touchdown.
It was a touchdown.
All right,
hey, I may not have been able to make catches, but I do have the most sacks in BFL Fighting Squirrels history.
True,
and then oddly enough on you, Fernando.
Probably. I wasn't the most mobile of quarterbacks.
Whoa.
And I wasn't the most mobile of linemen.
It was pretty interesting to watch. Daryl, how do you feel about the Pete Rose Ichiro hit situation?
It's to me, when I think about Hall of Fame, I think about again Major League Baseball Hall of Fame, and as much as I would like to count those as professional hits, it's again, to me, it's a Major League Baseball record. The Major League Baseball, those 30 teams, Pete Rose, at that point, because even in doing a little bit of backstory on this and a stat maybe I knew at one time and forgotten, but it reminded me. Sadaharu Owa, one of the Japanese baseball players, actually hit 868 home runs in his career.
Yeah.
Well, 113 more than what Hank Aaron had. But again, everyone still remembers, knows of Hank Aaron and his record. So it's that idea that even though it is a world game, we have to count, in my mind, the Major League hits for this stat, and it's certainly when he becomes a Hall of Famer, because in my mind it is going to happen.
Yeah,
it has to.
I would say that those figures be included on his plaque as well, to say that he had however many hits as part of in Major League Baseball, and then a line that includes plus the whatever 1,300 some hits that he had in the Nippon Professional Baseball League.
Yeah, I don't. Before Pete Rose dies, do you guys think he'll make the Hall of Fame?
No, it'll probably be after he dies.
Yeah.
Yeah, he should be in the Hall of Fame, but no, unfortunately, the powers that be will be keeping him out of that. And it really, I mean, I understand why he's not in, but time goes on.
Yeah.
It's really hard to think about, how much people through the generations have stood behind that idea, and then we look at, how much the game has changed, even from, say, the mid-'80s, just in a 30-year span with the technology and the, human growth hormones and the steroid. And
I don't think they need umpires anymore. I think umpires it should all be done zero error, no human error, all done by computers. Balls, strikes.
Could be.
What do you think? I don't know. I think that would be just fine.
Yeah, but then how are managers going to throw fits and get ejected from games? I mean, that's my favorite. That's one of my favorite parts of baseball.
That is the best part of baseball.
That's the thing is
maybe if they punch the computer hard enough, they'll be ejected and suspended for a couple games.
It would be like
it's not the same.
It would be like at the carnival where they have the bag hanging there, and you have to hit it with enough force to prove that you get your point right. No,
those carny games are rigged.
And that's the thing that gets me is the idea that you have these sets of purists that don't want to see certain things change. The problem is with that, baseball lacking an ability to adapt is going to be losing an audience. And
I've talked to an older guy. Yeah, he was complaining about interleague play. He doesn't like how it's all the time. He didn't like it at first. He was like, no, the AL plays the NL in the World Series, and that's it. So again, it's just about ruining the tradition or the way of life, I guess.
Right, and to me, I embrace that. I like that aspect. That as someone for the majority of my life, the Brewers have been in the National League. They started in the American League, but I never really had a chance to see the Yankees or the Blue Jays or the Athletics coming to at the time County Stadium, but now Miller Park. But having that opportunity now to actually go see some of these other teams, I don't have to fly to Oakland in order to watch the Athletics play, or go down to Arlington to see the Rangers.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Why would you want to go to Oakland anyway? I mean, you can get robbed at home just as easily and save yourself the cost of the plane ticket to go to Oakland.
And then Matt Bourne plays for the Unathletics. But
that's right. I'm their star player.
All right, guys. Who's going to win Game 7 in the finals? Daryl?
I'm going to go Golden State because I know I'm wrong. And but I have this feeling again, and I kind of brought this up to Brad before we started about the idea of whether or not this NBA Finals is going to be is it considered a great series? And some would say yes. I'm going to say no, just for the simple fact that you look at this series, the margin of victory has been double digits throughout. Average margin of victory is over 19 points a game. 15 points in Game 1, 33 in 2, 30 in Game 3, 11, 15, 14 this last game. You compare that to what the average margin of victory was in 97 when it was the Bulls and the Jazz, 6 points. That was the average.
Wow.
The biggest difference was 12 points in Game 2. They had 4 of those 6 games decided by 5 points or less.
That's crazy.
So to think about how well matched up they were, even though you have one team one night blowing out the other team, when it comes right down to it, you don't have that moment in the fourth quarter where there's a minute left and it's a one-possession game.
No.
And there's tension. By the time you get to 3 minutes left in the game, you're waiting for someone to basically take a knee and just get it over with.
Yeah.
Because it's been decided.
Well, and that's pretty much the course that the NBA has been in these last a couple of years, which can be a great topic for another podcast at a different day. But it's just nobody plays defense anymore. You know, it's not like the 90s and into the early 2000s where, you know, you had players that, like, defense was their main thing. Yeah, they did all right on offense, but they were on the court because of their defense. Nowadays, you don't see that anymore. And that, to me, that's my big downfall with the NBA. It's just the fact that you do have these huge scoring games and these large margins because, yeah, within the next last 3 minutes of the game, it's just basically the old hack-a-shack routine.
So who's your pick?
I hate to say it, but I think Golden State. They're at home. They're going to have, you know, the full team back. Draymond Green, you know, is going to be kicking people in the nuts in their home court. So sad to say, but Cleveland will not be getting a title again this year.
Fernando,
I hope I'm wrong.
Fernando, I know you hate Golden State because you live out there and you don't want them to win. But in all reality, what do you think Game 7?
It's like I'm having a war right now over what I think and what I want, and
right.
I got to go with what I think, and I do think it's going to be Golden State. I don't want it to be, but I just, like you said, Green will be back. It's at home. It would be an epic win, though. It would at least LeBron's known for losing in the finals, so it would definitely give him a little boost with his career. To especially, this would be the first NBA team ever to come back 3-1 in the finals.
Yeah, I mean,
if they can pull it off,
it would be great to see Cleveland do it. I agree with you, Fern.
Especially Cleveland. They haven't had a championship since like the Indians in the 40s. They haven't seen
exactly.
That's like got to be the most miserable city in America.
Yeah, it's close, that in Detroit, but it's it would be great to see. But I just think Cleveland's not going to do it. I just think the Warriors are too tough at home, and it's going to be one of these things where, you know, Steph Curry got that call on him, fouled out for the first time in his career, so the refs are going to be lax on him this next game. It's just how it's going to be because of all the heat that they took off that last game. So I think it's going to be the Warriors. I hate to say it, but I think it is. Final thoughts from you guys. Fern, any final thoughts tonight?
Just with anything we said, or are we still talking about finals?
No, anything you want to, any thoughts you have?
God help us, the floor is yours.
All right, get ready for this. I would say when football season starts, I expect to do this every single Friday, like every week. I mean, we'll have a good. We might have 2-hour conversation. It might be a 2-hour podcast when that rolls around.
Yeah, no, and that's a great point. And I mean, and that's something you can throw fantasy football into as well. We can talk about fantasy football. You know I got hard too, but it's just one of those things. Yeah, I agree, and that's a great point. I agree.
Well, you bring up fantasy. I'm going to say right now, if I got the number 5 pick and he's available, I think I'm taking Ezekiel Elliott with DeMarco Murray going down. That guy's going to have a lot of catches, a lot of yards. There's my top 5 sleeper pick.
He's already given us the sleeper picks for fantasy, guys. Look at that.
Right.
Fernando's on top of it. Fernando's on top of everything but women. But Borno, you're up.
Oh!
I'd argue, but it's true.
Borno?
My final thoughts have been and always will be, Packers suck.
Amen. I love you, Borno. That is the best.
I love you too, Fern.
Daryl.
My final thought is actually going to be on the finals and something to think about as you're watching the game on Sunday night. Now, we all know that the Golden State Warriors set the record this year for most wins in the regular season. Ended the season 73-9. So far in the playoffs, through these rounds of playoffs, they haven't even matched that. They've had 8 losses in the playoffs.
Ooh.
So if they lose on Sunday, they will have had lost 9 games in the playoffs, the same number of losses they had during the entire regular season.
Wow.
That's interesting.
So there is your final stat from me.
And my final thought is I love you guys. No, it's how about the United States men's national soccer team pulling off a victory last night, and they're moving on to the semifinals for the first time since 1995 in the Copa America Cup. So cool that they're doing that, and they're going to be playing on Tuesday night versus the Venezuela-Argentina winner, which is more than likely going to be Argentina with Lionel Messi. I'm a huge soccer nerd, and I think that's cool. Just just for the United States as well. When you have a team that does good for your national prowess, I guess you could say. And that's my final thought is the United States men's national team pulling off the victory, first time since 1995, making it to the semifinals for the Copa America. America.
Euro 2016.
All right, guys. It's been a great night, but we'll talk again coming up at a later date to be mentioned. But I do know next week we'll be posting an exclusive interview I did with a former high school, college baseball player from my area. So I did about a half-hour interview with him, and we're going to be posting that coming up next week on the Disagree to Disagree podcast. Fern, it's great seeing you. Or hearing you.
Oh, hearing, yeah. Great seeing / hearing you as well.
We should Skype this sometime, except for with Born. I don't care to see him and his wife beater.
Yeah. Born will have to be.
If we're Skyping it, I promise I'll wear pants or at least cover myself up because nobody should see that, especially not
That'll
you guys.
That'll be perfect. Hey, we're all a bunch of fat dudes. Let's all just do it topless, huh? How's that sound?
Ugh.
You guys are wearing shirts?
I can feel myself sweating already.
Daryl?
Oh, it sounds hot.
Daryl, it's always good.
Thank you, sir.
And Anthony Ingval, it was great for you to join us for the little time you did, Anthony Ingval, DJ Tones. All right, guys, have a great night, and we'll talk later.
Sounds good. Later, fellas.
Later.
Night, children.
Ugh.